reason I am a prosecutor is because God clearly knew the plan for me before I knew the plan for me. I did not want to be a prosecutor. All the images I had were what was on TV, what you hear about prosecutors that were hiding evidence and prosecuting innocent people, or at least as the media put the spin on it. Everybody's got those family members that have gone through the system and have bad things to say. And so my goal was to be a defense attorney, to try to ensure justice for those that come in the court system, until I met my former boss, who offered me the job initially, and I said no. I had done an internship under duress. I laugh and I tell him, because he kept telling me to take the class and I didn't want to do it because I knew I was not going to be a prosecutor. So when I came into the office, when I didn't initially say yes, and he asked me, okay, so what's the holdup? And I told him that story, all of that, all of the stereotypes about African Americans being prosecutors and things like that. And he said, I understand what you're saying. As a defense attorney, you ensure justice one case at a time, just those cases that you represent in court. But as a prosecutor, your obligation is to ensure justice throughout the office and throughout the system, that I am to protect the defendant's rights even when nobody else does. That made a lot of sense to me, and I said yes, and I have been here ever since, and that was 21 years ago.
In 1996, my family and I moved to the United States. We were burglarized in our home. Later, my father and mother opened a restaurant here, and while I was in law school, that was burglarized as well. Thankfully, we were not there either time, but to think about the victims who are there and the victims who do get caught in the crossfire, these innocent people who don't deserve things like this to happen to them, and to be able to do this job and to be able to help them and try to find justice for them really makes this job so wonderful. We also have to do what's fair, and part of what's fair is looking at both sides. So if I get a case and I don't think that somebody did it, it's my job to dismiss that case at grand jury. But if I have the proof and I have the evidence that shows it, it's also my job to hold that person accountable.
For most of my life, or at least when I was younger, my father was in the military, and I've always found that to be sort of a source of pride for myself, to see my father give of himself to something bigger than him, the sacrifices that he made throughout his whole life. And even now, after retiring from the military, how he gives back to his church and to the people of his community. I've admired that about my father and always wanted to try to emulate that in my own life. My father and my mother are two biggest heroes in my life. My mother came from another country. Here, she's been accepted and taken advantage of a lot of the opportunities available here, and I think it's because of her tenacity and hard work that I'm able to do the job that I'm supposed to do.
While this is the most challenging job, I love this city, I love my community and the people in it, and I want to do everything possible to keep it safe, so I could think of no better job than being a prosecutor.
Being a prosecutor gives me the opportunity to give back to this community the way my father has given up throughout his whole life. For me, at the end of the day, when I leave this earth, I want to be able to look back and say that I did something good while I was here, that I did something to help people. And for me, that's why I'm a prosecutor. To give back to my community, to give back to my home, to give back to essentially my family. It may not be the world or the country at large, but in this jurisdiction, in this town, this city, to me, this is just as much as my father, my mother, my sister, my brother. This is my family. And so that's why I'm a prosecutor.
21 years later, I'm still amazed that I'm still in the office. And there are often times as a prosecutor when you feel underappreciated, when you feel overworked, when you feel disrespected, when you feel that the judges and the defense attorneys don't see a value for you in the court system, when you feel victims are taken for granted. And you definitely have those times when you say, I'm done. Why am I still doing this? I'm done. And just when I get to that point, there is always a victim, a witness, somebody that says, do you remember me? And then they will tell you about how you helped them, how you fought for them when nobody else would. A victim, child sex victim's mother who had me crying not too long ago because she talked about the struggles that she went through and said that God puts people in her life to help her get through it, and I was one of them. So that kind of fills you up and keeps you going. And when that happens, you can say, okay, I'm going to keep going a little longer. So just when your tank gets empty, there is somebody that comes to you to say, thank you for what you did. You may not feel appreciated, but I appreciate you, and you've made a difference in my life. So that's why I am still here 21 years later.